I would like to introduce someone who I hope you will all really enjoy. And Megan has helped me with the power of the pause and also just making health and mindset work together, which, of course, is one of the themes of what I'm trying to help people do and remind myself to do. Megan started off as a yoga practitioner and then became a yoga instructor, and now has just used that as a platform to deliver so much more, especially for entrepreneurs and folks in business. So please join us, Megan, and tell us about the power of the pause. And if you don't mind sharing a bit, have you had any opportunities lately to bring that in your own life circumstances?
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's really lovely to be here. Yes, I definitely will be sharing about my recent opportunity to pause. So, yeah, should I just jump right in?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me. It's lovely to be here, lovely to connect with everybody. So, as Julie-ann said, yes, I am all about helping other entrepreneurs to thrive. Because call me crazy, but I believe that in order to be truly and sustainably successful, you do actually get to be healthy and happy as well. So if that aligns for you, give me a yes in the chat or give me some sparkle fingers if I can see you with your camera on, because I would love to really have this be an engaging and interactive session, because that way it keeps you more present and allows you to absorb more of the information. And it's just a more fun way to learn, right? And so that's a little bit about what I do. I believe that it's really important and it's foundational, really, to be able to be out there sharing your gifts, sharing your magic with the world. It takes a full cup, right? You've heard all the analogies, the mask, the cup, all the things. So important for us to be taking care of ourselves so that we have overflow, because the amount that you give out, you need at least that, if not more. And so that is really what I do. And so, yes, as someone who's really passionate about serving other entrepreneurs, being one myself, as I am a personal trainer, a yoga instructor, and a mental fitness coach. So you've probably heard of the first two, yes? Personal training, yoga, yes. Mental fitness, unless you're Julie-ann, is probably new to you because it is something that was new to me up until about 2 years ago, but it is like it sounds. It's training the muscles of the mind, which is so perfectly aligned with what William was sharing of what I caught, and learning to really catch ourselves in our subconscious patterns and be able to train the muscles of the mind to redirect. And so I have been able to share these tools with people in a variety of different forms and expressions for 17 years. And it's been a really interesting journey, as it is for many of us. You know, my work has changed forms many times, including March of 2020, which we all can refer back to knowing what happened then, and everything went screeching halt. And I really redirected my focus to serving other solopreneurs, you know, small businesses, those with growing teams, because I really see the value in being able to support others on this journey, because these are tools that I've used myself over and over again, and I used then and I'm using now. I believe we use them on a daily basis, and it's a practice. So I'm fortunate to say that I've lived on the beautiful island of Maui for over 12 years. And very likely, you know, what happened here in August. And it was an abrupt, very much screeching halt that turned into a pause for all of us, out of necessity, out of need, and out of just a sheerly life-changing experience. Thankfully, as you can see, I am in my home. You didn't know that, but this is my home. So I'm in my home. I have my home. I'm here. I'm safe. All my friends and family members are as well. But as you know, that's not the case for many of our community members here on Maui. And so it was very much a moment when everything felt like it just fell apart. And what I recognized was that they call them life-changing experiences for a reason. They literally change everything about the way we see things, about how we feel about ourselves, how we look at ourselves, how we go into the next day. And so I know that each of us have our own experience, but I know that many of you have gone through very impactful, life-changing experiences, hence the reason that you're here, right? And so what I came to recognize is that it was an opportunity for me to stop. It was an opportunity for me to take a gentle look. A past version of me may have taken a really hard look at it, but I didn't do that this time. I took a gentle look, because that's what I have learned, is that one of the most powerful tools of what we're going to be learning today, and ultimately our journey in life, which we can so easily give to other people, is compassion. And compassion is an underlying force in so many different things, and such an important thing for us to remember, because it can be really easy for us to say, oh yeah, take a break. You need a break. You deserve a break. And then when you get in front of your own laptop, you're like, what are you doing? You don't have time for a break. You got a million things to do. Don't take a break. No, take a break after you've done 800 other things, and then you can take a break, and so it's really interesting, this inner outer world that we have. I see you laughing, William. Yes, thank you. And so if you can relate to that, give me a yes in the comments as well, because I think it's, many of these things are of the human condition. I want to say that I'm a unique unicorn, and you each are in your own way, but we're very similar. And so what I recognized was it was an opportunity for me to make a shift, to be able to take stock of what was working, and be able to recognize that a lot of things I was doing weren't working. And they were taking a lot out of me, and I wasn't, it wasn't pouring into me. And so it really was an opportunity to pause. And in that pause, there is so much power. And so what I'm going to be sharing with you today is how to take a power pause in a way that's very gentle, right? Not in a, rock your world so everything stops power pause, which I'm in, and you've maybe experienced yourself in a variety of ways, but to be able to take a pause, to come back to yourself, to come back to a place of connected awareness, which is presence, right? Which is catching ourselves in our habits and in our patterns and in the spirals of doubt and self-sabotage and all the things that can take our energy, but really coming back to that place of presence. So we'll learn how to do that. And I want to teach you the 3 pillars to do that. And we're actually going to take a power pause together at the end. So you'll be able to really integrate everything together. How does that sound? Good? Okay. Yay. Beautiful. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So I've known this for a long time, but you know how life is. It's like we get the test and we get the lesson. Different than school, right? Entrepreneurship, we didn't really get groomed well for entrepreneurship. I wrote a whole book about it recently called The Warrior's Journey, and talking about how all these inner shifts that we get to make in order to be successful and have the outer results. Because, when I signed up to be an entrepreneur, nobody told me it was going to be a fast track to human development and personal growth and all the things, right? Like, I see you laughing again, all of you, that I can see your beautiful faces. It really is an opportunity to learn and to grow and to have perspective, and to be able to share that, because as a leader, that's what you get to do, is to be able to lead by example. I'm willing to bet, because you're here and because you're in this beautiful community, that integrity is probably somewhere on your list of values, being able to be authentic and to show up. And that takes one very important thing, a lot of things actually, but one thing that's really important is awareness. Many wisdom traditions, cultures, practices around the world, they all come back to this awareness. And what I recognized was that when I was in the like frantic, frazzle, go, 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 super speed pace of life, right? You wake up and your brain's already like, well, I've got a million things to do. I can't do yoga. I got to go to work, and I got to do, and it's just like on the train of stress and speeding through your day all day. It's really challenging to be aware unless we take these intentional pauses. Because when we take these pauses, it allows you to drop into your body. Because I know you probably know this, but you have a body You don't just have a mind. You're not even your mind. You're not even your body. You're the awareness that inhabits all of those. But yet when we're in the go, 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 busy leadership, leading your business, serving your community, your company, all the things, we can tend to forget until you stub your toe or, have a pain in the neck that we have a body. And so a huge part of this is coming back to that place of presence within yourself so that you can begin to use it, because it is a wealth of information. It is a wealth of knowledge and guidance, and your intuition and your presence, your creativity, all of that comes from when you cultivate connected awareness, present moment awareness. And it is truly the most powerful tool, not only to take control of your health and take control of your life, but also to take control of your mind as well, right? Which we know to be very important. I heard a little bit of what William was saying, but I definitely can tell we were on the same track. So I see why we got placed back to back. So that's what I came to realize, that when we go into the patterns and the default ways of doing things, we can tend to lose touch with that. But there's a direct line to this wisdom, this guidance, this presence, and that's connected awareness. And that's the essence of a power pause. So how does that sound so far? Does that make sense? Any questions before we continue on? Sparkle wave, I love it. Yes, good. Get good at this. It's good for you. It's just fun, right? We'll talk more about this, about playfulness in a couple minutes, but yeah, that's just fun. So on that note, let's take a pause. Sit up a little bit, take a breath, have a little sip of water. And don't shout it out. Just think about it for a second and see if you can kind of feel the answer in your body, right? Rather than letting all this collective in our head tell you the answer. What is the fastest tool to become present? What is the fastest tool to become present? And if you know it, drop it in the chat. Okay, we have one answer. And good news, there's no wrong answers, really, because we're all unique. All right, good, wonderful. Well, everyone's right, because they're all powerful, but the one I was specifically thinking of, and the one we're going to explore now, is the breath. Your ha, as I mentioned, live here in Maui, and so much of our life and the beautiful culture here revolves around the breath, which, interestingly enough, yoga, same, yoga, breathing practice, right? And so the breath is known to be the most powerful tool for you to come into your body. And amazingly enough, it's one that you can use anytime, anywhere, when you're awake, right? But the interesting thing about the breath is that it has so many different fluctuations to it, so many different uses to it, that we can play with it a lot. So that's the first pillar of a power pause. So you can drop that in the chat, a few of you did already, or you can just write it down while you're taking notes. The first pillar to taking a power pause is your breath. And the question to ask yourself is, where is my breath? So only if it's safe for you to do so, I'd invite for you to close your eyes, or if that doesn't feel safe for you, keep them open. And I want you to go deeper. I don't want you to have a logical answer to this. I want you to answer from a place of sensation, of felt sensation in your body, and ask yourself mentally, where is my breath? And what we're really looking for is hopefully down low in your belly, in your ribs, in the lower part of your chest, versus up in the neck and shoulders. Okay, so sometimes when we are feeling stressed out, or if we haven't brought awareness to our breath in a little bit, because I don't know about you, at the school I went to, nobody taught me how to breathe properly. Luckily, it's hardwired into your nervous system. But as we age and have injuries and posture and sleep and I'll do all sorts of funny things, it can be a pattern that changes significantly. So what I want you to do is experience a little experiment with me, because I think it's always good to learn by doing, right? We can tend to really absorb when we do that. So what I want you to do is sit up in your most elegant posture, your most upright and open posture. Perhaps you would call it confident posture, strong posture. I don't call it good posture. I call it strong posture. Okay. So sit in your strongest posture, close your eyes only if it feels safe, or just drop them down and go again to the breath. And I want you to just mentally, on a scale of 1 to 10, how easy is it for you to breathe deeply right now? Okay. One more. And now be gentle, but I want you to experience the contrast. I want you to go into, oh man, I don't know if this is going to work out. I'm really tired. I don't know. I can't do another thing right now, sort of posture. Okay. So think about that, how that feels in your head. Really kind of like, oh, I blew it. Man, this is really difficult. Stay there and try again. Not for long. Up, up, up. Let me know when you were in that constricted, contracted posture, how easy was it for you to breathe on a scale of 1 to 10? Drop it in the chat for the second one only. Okay, so out of 10, how easy was it for you to breathe, or what did you notice? A 3. Okay, Carrie, you were 3. So what were you before? 4. Okay, and so think about it. Were you higher? Was the number higher before? 8? Yeah, that's significant. Okay, so did you drop? See what happened? You dropped. Everything dropped. It collapsed. It contracted. It shrunk, right? I don't need to take a photo of you while you're at work, but I'm willing to bet you spent a lot of time in that position. No shame. I mean, we all do it. Your head's heavy. We don't even have time to talk about the biology of your posture, but just know that when you sit up, you are lifting yourself back up. You are opening yourself back up, and you felt that, right? So come back up and take another breath. And now I want you to really focus on a low, slow breath. For those of you that have children or that have babysat or looked after children and you've watched them sleep, you've noticed likely, or if you have a doggy, you've noticed this like almost full body breath. What I want you to do is just bring your hands onto your belly, and I want you to soften your shoulders down. And I want you to, again, if safe, close your eyes and breathe into your belly. Breathe low and slow. So what we're doing here is engaging the primary muscle of respiration, which is your diaphragm, which is what goes down and up when we breathe in and out. And actually, when you breathe in, it comes down into your belly and massages your abdominal organs. So just imagine if you get massage, sometimes you can imagine that your intestines and all the good things in there are getting a little massage. And then when you sit back and you breathe out, it comes back up, and guess what it does? It massages your heart. The outer layer of the heart gets a little love. So full breathing in that way is so powerful, because that's one of the most directly impactful ways to regulate your nervous system. And Carrie, you brought up a really beautiful point there, which takes what I just said a little bit further, is that the lower part of your ribs, we have the most oxygen, carbon dioxide exchange, because that's your primary breathing muscle, your diaphragm. The backup team is up here. Secondary muscles of breathing, they're not very efficient, and they already have a really important job, holding up that beautiful noggin of yours. And they're doing all sorts of work doing that, because if you're in a forward head slouch posture, then it's doing extra work. So posture is so important for our overall stress level. See the difference? When we're slunched over and we're breathing in that short, shallow pattern, it triggers stress. Even if you don't feel particularly stressed, it's actually saying to your body, they're stressed out about something. I don't know what's going on here, but they're breathing like they're panting because they're barely getting any oxygen in and out. So that when you just go to your breath and drop your breath into your belly, in as little, you know, a lot of the research says anywhere between 20 to 30 seconds, typically 2 to 3 deep breaths, there's a shift, a small shift. And we know little shifts add up, a small shift in the biochemistry that's happening inside your body, i.e. you're changing your nervous system to a more calm place. Okay, so that's pillar number 1. Where is my breath? Breath. Okay, and you know, I know you're here, so you love learning stuff. But one of the things that, you know, some people say, well, it's kind of boring just to focus on my breath. It's kind of boring. And I always think of the Zen proverb, and they say, the student goes to the teacher and he says that, you know, well, you told me to just focus on my breath, which as a busy-brained entrepreneur might be challenging for you. Maybe you too. And so, you know, I was like, I need to do like 4 different things while I'm meditating. I'm not gonna lie. And so the student goes to the teacher and the teacher says, oh, yeah, I understand your dilemma. Yes, I can see why that might be a bit uninteresting to you. Do you want me to help you make it interesting? And I said, yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't I? That's what I'm here to learn. And he goes like this. Okay, here, just watch me. You go like this, okay? Wait and see how long it is before you get interested in your breath. And so we forget, right? It's so simple. It's so powerful because we're like looking for these big shiny strategies. You know, we're like, tell me what to do to have optimum health. Breathe deeper and sit up taller. Let's start there. Right? I know, it's like so simple. Oh, good. Thank you for laughing, Carrie. I appreciate that. Okay. So that is pillar number 1. Question number 1 for Power Pause is, where is my breath? Okay, so where is my breath? And then our second question for you, as far as exploring, what would you say some really good qualities of a great leader are? So you can drop them in the chat. What is a great leader to you? Are they confident? Are they balanced? Are they focused? All the things. What is that to you? Awareness. Oh, Carrie, you're such a good listener. Connected and communicate, open, beautiful. Okay, love it. Yes, those are all really beautiful answers. And so those qualities that we respect and revere in others are obviously ones that we want to cultivate within ourselves. Yes? Yes, exactly. And so the important thing is, as Carrie so beautifully said, it's really about connected awareness, connected to who we are being in each moment, how we're feeling, what we're thinking about, what our emotions are, what our energy is, because our thoughts impact our emotions and our emotion impacts the frequency or the energy that we put out, right? So in spirituality, we call it like essence, you know, other people just call it vibes, but we're all talking about the same thing. Like, what is the energy and the essence that you come into the meeting with or onto the Zoom or what have you? And so this is really important because people can read it. Most of your communication is nonverbal. And people have keen little spidey senses and they pick up on stuff. They may not be able to put a label on it, but your energy is your most valuable commodity. And it's actually contagious in a good way. Not always, though. Because if you're in a funk, and you know what it's like when you go into a room and you're like, well, is everything okay? And they're like, yeah, we just had a horrible argument, because you picked up on it, right? And so what we're looking at there is your way of being. So this is the second pillar, being. Who am I being? It's a rather profound question, right? It's like, who am I being? Who am I being in this moment? Well, what does it take to answer that question? Connected awareness. It takes you becoming present, right? Because otherwise we just go into our natural patterns and our default ways. And so this is where we start to begin to cultivate this more self-awareness, self-mastery, understanding that how you feel hopefully should be a top priority on your priority list, right? And that when you do things to make sure that you feel good, not only are you thriving, right? Because it's foundational for you to be able to achieve your success, but it actually has a beautiful ripple effect, increasing your ROI, like in your business, the impact that you're making, the quality of the content, like everything benefits when you are very present with how you're feeling and how you're showing up, and you're doing things to boost your being. right? Where you're doing things to help yourself feel good. And this is really important because what we want to do is cultivate connected awareness so that you can recognize your inner states, right? Being mindful of how you feel so that you can start to catch yourself when you're in the red zone. What's the red zone? Well, that's when we get into the like, you feel like the Tasmanian devil stuck on an ant trap. That's what it feels like to me. I'm just like, I'm trying to go everywhere and I can't go anywhere. You know, that like frantic, frazzled, AKA fight or flight, AKA stress, AKA problem, because stress is associated with all sorts of things, not many of them very good, although there is a level of stress that's beneficial, but it's a real fine line. And so when we can start to cultivate awareness of what it feels like to be in the red zone and to notice when you're feeling that chaotic, frantic, frazzled, overwhelmed state, like, you know, when you're the spinning top that's like, or like a kite that hasn't got the tail, you know, tethered to anything, that's when we start to recognize like, whoa, I need a power pause because that's not your ideal state. I'm willing to bet, right? Like there's a level of stress that's productive, but the fine line is there. And so recognizing when you're in the red zone, because those are zones that we're meant to visit, but not inhabit. We're not meant to stay there. And it's very important that we be able to recognize that, catch ourselves, cultivate the connected awareness, and come back to the green zone. I kind of like the analogy of a bowling lane. Remember when you go bowling and you're learning how to bowl and you're like, woo, when you're in the gutter and then you're in the gutter and then you figure it out and you can go right down the middle. And so the green zone is right down the middle, right? Where we get the, what's it called? Strike? Is that it when you knock them all down? Yeah, thank you. When you get the strike. So we want to stay in the green zone, right? We already recognize like the red zone is frantic, frazzled, woo, fight or flight, you know, and that's when we want to just catch ourselves, use one of the tools that you're learning today with the breathing and the grounding and more to come. And then when we get to the other side, because this happens too, right? If we're in the red zone for too long and we get completely defeated and we hit the proverbial wall, or we get burnt out, or we get exhausted, or something really intense happens that takes you over to the other side and you go into a complete collapse and you're exhausted and you're depleted and you feel defeated and you're frustrated and you're frozen and you're sad and your energy just is tanked, then you're on the other side of it and you're in the black zone. Right. So we want to recognize what these feel like for you, because a lot of times these feelings, because the communication, the language of the nervous system isn't like writes you a nice little note and tells you what's going on. The language of the nervous system, and therefore the subconscious mind, are emotions. And so when we start to recognize the feelings of like what the green zone feels like, right? And so in your best state, your most vibrant state, what do you feel like? What do you feel like? Do you feel a lot? Oh, okay, thank you. Connected, communicating, you feel focused, beautiful, focuses, all the things, good. Perfect. Yes, you're open to hearing oh, that was your leadership answer. Okay, cool. So yeah, vibrant. Yes, William feels like he can do anything, right? There's an unstoppableness that comes when we're in that fully empowered zone, energetic, because what happens is the green zone is actually the best of the rest and digest, which we often hear about as the calm part of the nervous system. The best of that, which is a playful and a happy and a connected and a yes, possibility creative, plus a little bit of the energy from the sympathetic nervous system that gets you up and doing things, right? And so that's called a stay and play state. And so it's a combination. And so when we're in that space, we want to really identify that and put an understanding on it for you, like what those emotions feel like for you, so that you can really recognize when you're not feeling that and celebrate when you are feeling that, right? And lean into that and recognize, oh, this made me feel really good. I felt super powerful after I did the power pause, and maybe I want to integrate that more and all of that. So then we can start to recognize what to do, so that when we find ourselves on either side of that, because it happens, and that's a healthy nervous system, is when we catch ourselves in one of those places, we can come back to that place of connection, come back to that place of, you guessed it, connected awareness. So what we want to start to cultivate are awareness of the negative emotions, because the patterns will come in, right? And who you're being in those moments when you're like, I just have to do 5 more things before I can take a break. And it's frantic. And it's like I'm a hyperachiever. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to do this, or it's like all of these different patterns that are hardwired into our mind, right? They're hardwired into our being. But when we start to be able to become aware of them, and when we catch ourselves in those old thought patterns, when we catch ourselves in those negative emotional patterns where we're feeling like that sort of feeling, we can go, oh, there it is again. I'm in the red zone, with a kindness and a compassion, right? Not like, great, look at me. I'm in the red zone again. Blew it. I don't know how to do this green zone thing. See the difference? But yet in our head, it's really easy to just go into that second one. So we want to do some things that take us from the blah to a little bit more of a different vibe, right? And so that's a whole tool set that I really like to integrate. That is such a fun one. And that's the mental fitness component, is when we catch ourselves in those patterns, when we hear that voice of that judgy version of ourselves, this hypercritical, or the version of ourselves that's like, oh, well, yeah, get over it. You're fine. Like, let's get back into action here. Come on. What's the problem with you? Let's do this, and you're like, but I'm tired. It's that awareness of self that we can begin to just observe. And then we use some of the tools. So here's one of the tools. Again, sitting up nice and tall, take a pause. Okay. And what I'm going to have you do, I'm going to show you at first so you can see what I'm doing, and then I'll drop my hands so you won't be able to see them. But you're just going to really slowly, you're going to rub your fingertips together. And I want you to see if you can feel your fingertips. Sometimes you may need to go to another one to get it. Okay. So bring your arms down by your side or in your lap and close your eyes and just breathe. Again, where does the breath go? Into the belly. And focus your mind, bring all of your conscious awareness into the fingertips and feel the ridges of your fingertips. Focus on it. On average, your mind will wander about half the time. Just be aware of that and come back. Try some other fingers. And then I find I get the most when I bring my fingers and stroke them up and down the palm. It almost gets, see how it feels. And then let your hands rest and keep your eyes closed and see if you can just keep the sensation of what you feel in your fingers as your focal point. So what we're doing there is training your mind to focus on something seemingly rather simple and maybe even silly, of rubbing our fingertips together, but it's not, because what it's doing is helping you to take control of your mind, which then allows you to be intentional with how you're directing your energy and how you are choosing to take the next steps forward into the meeting, onto the Zoom call, to the client call, whatever it is, or to the kids, to the partner, whatever, is so that we are cultivating that ability to continually rein in the mind. And the mind is like a puppy, a brand new puppy with all the energy, puppy energy. And they're like, I just want to eat everything. I'm going to go eat this, and I'm going to go pee here, and I'm going to do the things. And so you give the puppy a little toy, and you walk out of the room and you come back and it ate the toy and it threw up, and you're like, okay, go sit over here in your kennel, and you put it down for a second, and then you come back and it's like gnawed through the side of the kennel. Your mind is very similar. And doing these little things like this is so incredibly powerful for you being able to choose where your focus is, which then impacts your energy. Okay, so that's where we can start to begin some real deep shifts into how we think, how we show up, because what we're doing there is training a new pathway in your mind, which is so powerful and so important, not only for the longevity and health of your brain, but for reprogramming subconscious patterns, all the things. But just keep in mind that doing stuff like this calms you down. Okay, if that's what you take from it, it calms you down and helps you to come back to a place of, everybody say it now, connected awareness. Okay, so that's number 2. Who am I being? Who am I being? That's really important. And the next step to that, before we go on to pillar 3, is, are you being the most aligned, vibrant, ideal, thriving leader, unstoppable, feel like I'm extra tall, energetic, I can do anything, focus, woohoo version of me? And it's just an awareness, right? It's not a judgment. It's just a present moment awareness of, am I in that space right now, or am I way over here in the red zone? And then we just say, okay, well, this is where I would like to be. So let's choose an intention or a thought or a step or an action that will take me a little bit closer to that. Because when you do this sort of stuff, you're quieting the stress part of your mind, your brain, and you're activating the higher functions of your brain, which is where all your magic is. Okay, we don't need to go too far into neuroscience, but it's just where all your magic is, your creativity, your focus, all the good stuff. So the final one is balance. We all spend a lot of time sitting down. And from what I can tell, the people that I can see right now are sitting. And give me a yes if you are. Okay,
Yep.
good. Okay. So from a place of non-judgmental awareness, how many hours a day do you think you spend sitting in a chair? No shade, no shade, no, none of that, no judging. 5, okay. 10, yep. But you get off often. Good, well done. Yes. Ideally, we sit less than 3, broken up and down into little chunks of time. But again, we all get to live our own life and choose our own path. It's really about being aware of how much time we spend sitting down. Because when we sit down, as we learned earlier, it brings everything down, right? It's really easy for us to go into that slump, contracted posture. Through the mind-body connection, your mind and body are constantly in communication with each other. And when we are in a posture, as you learned earlier, a weak posture where you were slumped over and you felt the tension in your neck when you were breathing, or it felt like it was really like 2 out of 10, hard to breathe, that sort of thing, we're not only triggering stress, but we can actually trigger a low emotional state, because those postures are associated with an anxious state or a sad state. And so there's this ongoing communication that's happening. So that's why it's so important to do things throughout your day, throughout your week, like the power pause, that will help you to come back into balance and come back into a strong posture, so that, first and foremost, you can breathe properly, because when we're breathing properly, it helps hormonal balance, immune function, mood, sleep, bone density, all, like, so many incredible things that benefit when we are up sitting. Yes, but standing ideally, when we're up in strong posture, so that we can bring your body back into alignment. Right? When we look at the joints of the body and we think about alignment, it's easiest, I find, to think about it in terms of a pile of boxes that you're stacking. And of course, if you were to go pile some boxes in the garage or what have you, you would put the box like one on top of the other, right? You're not going to put the box like that game. What's that game? Jenga? Is that Jenga? Yeah, right, because it's really teetery. So we want to stack the joints of your body one on top of the other. But when you're in a sitting posture, so this is you, strong alignment, you get at the computer, you're like, yeah, here we go. And then you spend like 6 hours like that. Exaggerated, I know, but like, to prove my point is that we tend to go really far forward head posture, tech neck, like there's all sorts. Sleeping booty, it's a thing. Sleeping booty, it's a thing. Gluteal amnesia, technically, if you like the fancy science words for it, gluteal amnesia is really the modern reality tale of sleeping booty and the 7 sneaky symptoms of sitting too much. Yeah. And do you know what the evil villain, ouchie slouchy, do you know what his weapon of choice is? Give you a hint. You're sitting on one right now. Oh, yeah, I know. It's the chair. It's the chair. In countries around the world and where people engage in regular movement and have practices throughout the day that have them up and moving in all sorts of different ways, like we'll be doing in here in a minute, the rates of back pain and bone issues and health issues are significantly different than they are in countries where we spend a lot of time sitting in chairs. It's pretty interesting to look at, right? The correlation speaks volumes. And so what's really important is that we have these little tools that we are integrating so that we can start getting rid of the sneaky symptoms like tidy and droopy and achy and foggy and stressy and cranky and sleepy and all the things that tend to happen when we spend a lot of time in that weak slouched posture, which is, I'm willing to bet, not how you picture a leader being in their strongest posture. Am I right? You're all like, yeah, it's okay. I'll do my core work now. Damn it. You're making a case for it. Okay. So that's what I want you to think about, right? Because again, if you think about the correlation between your emotions and your posture and your energy and how you show up into a meeting, how you show up into a sales call, like stuff like that is really, really important. It's the stuff that we forget about because we're very focused on the external strategies, but these internal strategies and these internal shifts are really like the magic sauce. They are the underlying ingredient, right? Because you can follow, Tony Robbins or James Wedmore, you can follow their strategies to a T, but if your energy, your essence, your focus is off, then it's not going to land the way it landed for them. Right. And because you're not them, thank goodness, but it's not going to land the same way. So that final question is crap. But with that final question for pillar number 3, which is balance, the final question is, what do I need to come back into balance? This is going to be determined by what you uncover in pillar 2 of being. This is going to be determined by where your breath is. So what you need to come back into balance is going to be dependent on what zone you're in, right? If you're in the red zone and you're like, I just need a break, somebody help me, or if you're in the black zone, you're like, somebody, this caffeine is not working, help me, I need something, or if you're in the green zone and you're like, this is it, I'm feeling good, I want to feel more of this. What you need to come back into balance is going to be dependent on the state that you're in and the desired state that you would like to move into the rest of the day in. Because what you're doing by using the tools of the power pause is shifting your inner state, right? And so all about, your energy, your body language, your communication, your brain function, all of that stuff. It's really about how you show up as a leader. Yes, but because all the science stuff I just told you about, underneath all of that is that it allows you to be holistically successful and healthy, right? Because being impactful as a leader requires you to be able to be sustainable in your success. And that requires you having the tools of the vibrancy of mind and body and spirit. So those are the 3 pillars. 1, breath. The question to ask yourself, where is my breath? 2, being. Who am I being, right? So non-judgmental self-awareness, we just take a little snapshot. And, the next step where you can just go right to this one is, who do I want to be being in this moment, right? How do I want to be feeling? Is like, if you want to do that inquiry, that's beautiful. But then if you just want to get right down to business and how do I want to feel, then you answer from that place, okay? And then the final component, the final pillar is balance. And so that question is, What do I need to come back into balance? And as you've heard me saying, that it really is this compassionate inquiry. It's this opportunity to learn and grow as we navigate the journey of life. And as we begin to take a slightly different perspective on our health and how we take these pauses, because what we want to do is get to a place, and it doesn't necessarily happen right away, especially when there's massive upheaval or changes in our life. We don't necessarily see the gift or opportunity right away, and we need space and time to figure things out. But there's always an opportunity for us to cultivate that awareness of, what is my opportunity here? How can I come back into strong alignment? Is it an opportunity for me to breathe deeply and get a little more natural energy? The gift of this is that I feel so much better, and so it's a perspective that we can begin to take. And that's important as a leader, is the perspective that you take on your health and why these power pauses are important. And so before we take our power pause, 2 little tips to help you to integrate them into your life, because it's all well and good for you to learn stuff, but if you don't integrate it, not very useful, right? We want to, take the tool out of the box and actually use it. So the first one is it didn't happen. Yeah. If you don't use it, it doesn't happen. Okay. So the first one is to schedule it into your calendar. What we schedule is far more likely to get done. Agree or disagree? Yes. Exactly. Agree. Exactly. And so that's really important to remember. And that's one we want to think about, is knowing yourself. Some people like to do this on a weekly basis. Some people like to do this on a daily basis. Knowing your schedule, right? Because that's probably varying from day to day. If you take a look at your day, or you take a look at your week, you're like, this is a good time for me to do this. I can do this here, and put it into your schedule. And it is really based on your own needs, your own energy level, right? And that varies from day to day. And some days you may be like, yay, me. And then other days you just want to do a more relaxing one. That's totally cool. It's just a matter of becoming consistent with your practice. And that doesn't have to mean like you take 5 power pauses every day. Maybe you start with the goal of taking 3 a week. That would be a great start, right? Because it's 3 more than you were taking before. And so then the other component, and this is where we kind of come in the back door with a little bit of brain hacking, is after you've taken your power pause, we want to really make note of how you feel. Because when you do something that leaves you feeling good, and you recognize that, and if even like go out of your way to slightly celebrate it, like, as you would for your 5-year-old or your puppy that stayed in the kennel and didn't pee or eat on anything, like our analogy from earlier, you would celebrate them, right? You would celebrate them. And as adults, we're like, I don't do that. I'm serious. I don't need to be doing silly things like that. Yeah, you do, actually, because when we do stuff like this, when you're like, yay, good, look at me go, I'm doing great things, is it brings you back into that more vibrant energy, right? And that helps you to come back to the stay and play state, because you're like, oh, yay, this is fun. I want to do that again. And what happens when we do that is it actually is a bit of a neural hack, a brain hack, because we have a release of dopamine, because your brain's like, yay, we did something good. I want to do that again. And then it's far more likely to remind you to do it the next time. And guess what? It's a win-win, because you're doing something good for yourself. Okay, so all of that to say, when we make time for power pause, when we make time for you, you're really doing one of the most important things that you can do for yourself, because underneath all of that, and what we're really giving you the tools to do, is to nurture your nervous system, to take care of that beautiful electric blueprint that is your inner guidance system, that is the connection between your mind and body, that is the direct line to your vibrant health, long-term success, leadership abilities, calm, balance, gratefulness, all of that, right? So that's truly why we do all of this. So I probably could have just said that in like 25 seconds and not given you all that other stuff, but I had to convince you, persuade you that it really is about you taking care of you, because you got some science and some research and all that stuff for you logical brain people, but then also the feeling, right? How does it feel? It feels good. Okay, I'll do it. So it's, you gotta, we all come at it with our own perspective. And then really just remembering that it truly is about cultivating that place of connection within yourself.